morning. My name is Ron Lennox, and I'm the Midday Rotary Club Services Vice President. And I want to welcome this great group of people. I think we have close to 50 people online today. It just shows what an important subject and topic this is for today. This is the final program for February, and I hope you've all enjoyed all of them. If you've missed one of our programs, remember that we record all of these sessions, and you'll find them available for viewing later on our YouTube channel. We also have a great lineup for the month of March. And just to give you a little tease, we just mentioned that the 1st of March is our club assembly, which is primarily for club members, but is open to the public. Then on March the 8th, Jesus Ibarra will join us, and he will speak about films in Mexico. On the 15th, we have Susana Valdez from the Hues Center for Cultural Survival and Traditional Arts. March the 22nd, we have another visit from our president, Mauricio Trejo, and he will be joining us to giving us an update on the status of San Miguel. I'm sure you remember he was at the Rotary Club meeting, which was I believe in November. And so this is an update for him. And then closing out March, we have Helen Rivas Rose, who will be speaking about her book, Brave, A Painfully Shy Life, which will be really great. So we have lots of good things coming up in the month of March. Hope you'll come back and join us, all you visitors out there today. Today it's my pleasure to welcome Sandy Delgado and Trish Snyder from Ser Mujer. Trish is a former social worker and fundraiser. She is one of the founders of Ser Mujer and has worked as a volunteer with domestic violence survivors, Indigenous midwife students, and teaching English as a second language. Sandy Delgado is a clinical psychologist. Originally from Tampico, she has been living in San Miguel for 13 years. 4 of those years, she hosted a local television show on psychology and has worked with the Instituto de Mujer and the Red Cross as a volunteer. For those of you unfamiliar with Ser Mujer, it is a group of Mexican, American, and Canadian women of all ages working in partnership with community-based organizations here in San Miguel. Their goal is to promote the commonality of women's issues across cultures, to raise awarenesses of the challenges, to celebrate accomplishments and contributions to success. I found a quote on the Ser Mujer's Facebook page that I would like to share with all of you. It's from Veronica Cruz, founder of Las Libras. The quote is, "Everyone has a right to a life free from violence and fear, the right to feel safe, happy, and free. We all have the right to make decisions about our own bodies, and we are in solidarity with all the people who suffer, fight, and celebrate. Together, we are stronger." Trish and Sandy will be speaking today about the problem of missing women. This is not limited to Indigenous women nor to one country. In Mexico, every day, at least 5 women go missing. We don't know if they're stolen, trafficked, kidnapped, or murdered, but we know that they are missed. Sadly, most of these women will never be found, will never be returned to their families. I'm sure that we all agree that we cannot afford to lose women in our society. With that, Sandy and Trish, we give you a very warm welcome today, and we look forward to hearing more about Ser Mujer and the Red Dress Project. Please take it from here, Trish.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Rotary, for the support you provide to women. Your newest program on micro-lending will impact many women and pull them out of poverty. I'd also like to thank Ron Lennox for inviting us today, and Ron Felton for helping with the photos you'll see. I'll talk today about how Ser Mujer got started, what we have been doing for the past 7 years, and about our current Red Dress Project that will be unveiled in March, Women's History Month. And then Sandy will speak to you on the rights of women in Mexico. Ser Mujer evolved from the San Miguel Walk Against Domestic Violence, which raised funds for CASA's domestic violence program. Each year on January 24th, volunteers would join the pilgrimage to San Juan de los Lagos for part of their journey. Rotarian Ron Felton and his wife Linda were part of that group. But our group just walked for 10 kilometers. The pilgrims walked for 10 more days after leaving San Miguel. When Costa decided not to continue this effort, there were many volunteers committed to ending violence towards women. So we got together 7 years ago and formed Ser Mujer. Translate that to be a woman. That's when I started wearing purple in my hair because purple is the color for Women's History Month. Our mission was and is, as Rodden said earlier, to promote the commonality of women's issues across cultures, to raise awareness of their challenges, and to celebrate their accomplishments. We had no money, no patron, no official status. What we did have were skills, experience, and a commitment to help other women. A volunteer, La Vilanesa, designed our logo, which you can see now. Another created our website. Another took photographs. Another wrote articles for local media. We created a Facebook page that has now more than 6,000 followers, Ser Mujer SMA. Can we have the next few slides, Rod? How did we introduce ourselves to the community? How did we attract Mexican women? We didn't ask permission, but just showed up in the Jardín with poster board, signs, purple ribbon, and a mojiganga that was Mexican looking on one side and non-Mexican on the other side. Next slide. We knew we had to address the rampant violence towards women in Mexico. The United Nations has rated Mexico as one of the most violent countries for women in the whole world. According to the National Institute of Statistics and Geography in Mexico, 66.1% of all women aged 15 and older have experienced some kind of violence. Next slide. And that problem only got worse when women were confined at home because of COVID. IMAM, San Miguel's Women's Institute, had 2,000 calls for assistance from October through January. Their staff of 11 includes psychologists and attorneys, and they're always busy. The next couple of slides. Next slide. Our focus in the first year was empowerment and helping women be safe. We organized a program called Take Back the Night and recruited a female mariachi group to join us. It was hard to ignore mariachis dressed in pink, and we used this opportunity to hand out literature about the program that we had planned for March. Those activities included self-defense classes, workshops, films, poetry readings, and lectures. One of the things I learned from many of the talks that were given is that if a woman is in a dangerous situation and at home and she leaves her home, she gives up all rights to that home. Next, through the years, we have had powerful speakers, including Veronica Cruz, founder of Los Libres in Guanajuato. She was the first Mexican human rights activist to be awarded the Defender of Human Rights towards award from the Human Rights Watch in 2006. Her group trained lawyers and advocated for women who were imprisoned, sometimes for up to 25 years, because they were suspected of having abortions. If a woman went to a doctor or a hospital because she might be having a miscarriage, she could be reported to the police and arrested and placed in jail. Because of the efforts of her organization, safe and legal abortion is now legal throughout Guanajuato and in Mexico. Veronica will be joining us again this coming year with a talk on March 6th by Zoom. Next slide. We had to have a look. This was one of our openings at Casa Europa, and it really attracted a lot of attention. We also drew on the creative spirit of women, and as a group, we created a 4-foot by 4-foot quilt that was part of the monument quilt and displayed on the mall in Washington, D.C. This photo is of our student intern who took this on as her project, and we also created our own mojiganga with the help of Guadalupe Trejo, who is the spark for most of the mojigangas you see in town. With Guadalupe's guidance, we covered a balloon with paper mache, created a face, collected reeds to form the structure and make a dress. She's not pretty, but she sure is big. Because we were dealing with such heavy topics like violence and femicide, the killing of a woman because she's a woman in our state of Guanajuato, it was really important that we as a group grew close and had fun while doing the hard work. A lot of it involved sitting around my kitchen table, making plans, putting together schedules of events, and drinking wine. We generally planned 12 events to be presented during March and hosted speakers who came from as far away as Mexico City, Cuernavaca, and Guatemala. We can move through these next few slides, Ron. These are the cards we gave out to people when we would have an event with information on the back. And if you can read this, our battles don't have, anyway, the streets are ours. Next. In my life and in my body, I decide. Those are the empowerment message we tried to get out. We held programs at the Biblioteca, Bellas Artes, and El Sindicato. Programs were free or no more than 100 pesos. At the end of the month, we donated our proceeds to a women's program, such as Las Libres, or to help individual women, such as the plumbing student who took the plumbing class but couldn't afford to buy the tools. I can't say enough about how the young Mexican women helped the older American and Canadian women understand the Mexican community. My friends and I were feminists back in the 70s when many of these smart Mexican volunteers weren't even born. We all learned from each other. We were all set to go with a full program in March 2020, and our big public program was entitled En los zapatos de ella, in her shoes. We collected 324 pair of shoes, which represented the number of women in the state of Guanajuato who lost their lives to violence in the previous year. And we hung them on a house in Colonia Guadalupe on March 8th, International Women's Day. It was a powerful statement. I think the next two slides will show the number of people we attracted. And when it was over, we donated the shoes to Abba House, the Center for Migrants in Celaya. But then everything stopped on March 11th because of COVID. Our last in-person program was the film Tempestad, about women who were abducted. I had asked one of our local volunteer psychologists who had worked with Cruz Roja and the San Miguel Women's Institute to sit in and be available in case people needed to talk. Unbeknownst to us, her brother was kidnapped for ransom as we were watching the film. He has returned to his family, but suffered physical and mental harm. Next slide. When 2021 rolled around, we organized virtual events, including a talk on human trafficking by an expert who works worldwide, but just happens to live in San Miguel, by a professor from the University of Guanajuato on Mexican masculinity, and an online concert by Mexican and Chilean women. These are those women. Next slide. This is the professor from the University of Guanajuato who spoke. And the next slide will show you Stephanie Bratnick, who is the world expert on human trafficking. For 2020, we are focusing on disappeared women. Another musician. My first personal experience with trafficking came from a phone call from my minister. His neighbor's housekeeper was neighbors with a beautiful, mentally challenged teenage daughter named Anna. She was missing from her home, and her cell phone was found outside a strip club on the way to Mexico City. It's been over a year, and she hasn't been located. Authorities have told the family that they suspect she's being used for sex trafficking. According to the Secretary of State for Mexico, the number of disappeared women has increased year after year. From 2000 to 2003, 63 women were reported missing. Between 2006 and 2009, 476 vanished. 2,418 disappeared between 2012 and 2015. The number jumped to 4,276 between 2018 and 2021. The highest number of disappeared women is between the ages of 15 and 19, followed by those 20 to 24. In third place are girls 10 to 14 years old. This problem isn't limited to Mexico. It happens worldwide. Of the more than 89,000 active missing person cases in the US at the end of 2020, 45% were people of color, according to the FBI's National Crime Information Center. A 2021 report by a government watchdog found that the true number of missing and murdered Indigenous women is unknown. Due to reporting problems, distrust of law enforcement, and jurisdictional conflicts. But Native women face murder rates almost 3 times those of white women overall, and up to 10 times the national average in certain locations, according to the National Congress of American Indians. More than 80% have experienced violence. Each day, an average of 5 women and girls go missing. Most are never found. Many are sex trafficked. Most women don't disappear because someone snatched them up. Many are victims at the hands of family or friends or the cartels. It has been difficult to get a definite number, but what Ser Mujer has done is to go to the Facebook page, Mujeres Desaparecidas Guanajuato. Every day, there are messages from desperate family members in Spanish. ¿Has visto mi hija? ¿Has visto mi hermana? ¿Has visto mi mamá? Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen my sister? Have you seen my mother? 2 volunteers went through these names and recorded them. Some were found. Some were reported dead. But there were 84 women who had not been found in 2020 and 73 women in 2021. And this is just for our state. Our plan to draw attention to this problem and get information out as to where to report a missing person is the Red Dress Project, modeled after a program which began in Canada in 2010, when an Indigenous woman would go out for a walk and never return. Families would hang a red dress to mark her absence. The program grew to the United States, but to my knowledge, this is the first time that the project has come to Mexico. We have collected over 100 red dresses and will be meeting outside at Greek and Coffee on March 8th at 3 p.m. to hang these dresses and attach white ribbons with the names of the missing women. The names will be read at 5 p.m. Everyone is invited to take part in this event, and you're encouraged to wear red to show solidarity with the missing women and their families. Also in March, there will be an art opening at Fabrico Aurora at the Van Doren Gallery, March 5th at 5 p.m. with photos, names, and red dresses in an installation by Ser Mujerian Katie Van Doren. She will also offer an art therapy workshop for the children under 10 years old at Ojalá Niños about protecting their bodies. This will be videotaped so others can use it. Our youngest member of Ser Mujer, 16-year-old Elena Rizvi, is working with her teacher, Emma Guerra, on a school assembly program at the Victoria Robbins School. They will make a presentation in English and Spanish on prevention and awareness, and plan to make a video as a school project, which will be available to other school groups. We'll also sponsor a talk by Jennifer Clement, former president of PEN, who has written the book Prayers for the Stolen, which has been made into a powerful film by the same name and is now on Netflix. And we will show the Spanish version of this film, Noche de Fuego, on Wednesday, March 9th, in an open air setting. You're invited to attend any of these events, and you can find out more at our website, www.sermujersma.com. And now I'm pleased to introduce Sandy Delgado, friend, mother, former television host, a therapist in private practice, and an essential part of Ser Mujer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you all for having me. And well, like Trish just said, you know, it's very sad to know how many women have disappeared. We don't know if they've been murdered or just, you know, being used like in a sexual trafficking way. So, well, so I'm going to talk about violence first, what it is, types of violence, and then 10 basic rights of all women in a healthy relationship. So first, violence against women and girls is one of the world's most prevalent human rights violations taking place every day, every single day at every time. The magnitude of its impact, both in lives of these women and girls, their families, and society as well, is unmeasurable. Violence against women and girls is defined, and I'm going to read it so I don't miss anything, as an act of gender-based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or mental harm or suffering to women and girls, including threats of such acts, coercion or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or in private life. It is very important to know the difference, right? Because sometimes we think, oh, he loves me, or he cares about me, or he wants me to be safe, or he's the only one who's going to love me or take care of me. And sometimes these men are really nice, you know, publicly, but then in private life, they do all this violence. So it's very important to teach girls since, you know, very little, that love isn't harming, isn't hurting, isn't, you know, saying bad things or treating them badly. So now we're going to talk about the types of violence. First off, domestic violence is the violence that includes all of the violence I'm going to talk about. Domestic violence is also called domestic abuse or intimate partner violence. It is any pattern of behavior that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. And domestic violence includes economic violence, which is making or attempting to make a person financially dependent by maintaining total control over financial resources, withholding access to money, and or forbidding attendance at school or employment. So this is a very typical type of violence here in Mexico. I'm sure all over the world, but in Mexico, this is very typical. Men don't want their wives to get a job because then they will have money, and then women will get their money because of their job, and then men won't be able to control them. So this is a way to control their wives, not having them, not wanting them to have a job. Another type of domestic violence is the psychological or emotional one. This one includes undermining a person's sense of self-worth through constant criticism, belittling one's ability, name-calling, or other verbal abuse. It also includes damaging a partner's relationship with children or with the family, and not letting the partner see friends and family. So this is when the husband just takes out of the wife all out of her family, and not letting her having friends, not letting her, you know, have a relationship with her family. She's just at home taking care of him or children. So she has no other relationship, not friends, not with family. She's just like hiding away. Another type of violence is the physical violence. And this one includes hurting or trying to hurt a partner by hitting, kicking, burning, grabbing, pinching, shoving, slapping, hair pulling, biting, denying medical care or forcing the partner alcohol and or drugs. And it also may include property damage. And the last one, I know there's a lot of violence and other types of violence, but these ones are the most known. The last one is sexual violence. And this type of violence, it involves forcing a partner to take part in a sex act when the partner doesn't consent. It can include sexual harassment and rape. So those were like the most common type of violence, and it's all part of domestic violence. And now I'm going to mention 10 basic women's rights in a healthy relationship. Number one is you have the right to express your needs and to be listened. This means having communication. It's very important that, and I think both, obviously, men and women, we need to tell what we need, what we want in a relationship. And number two, number two is you have the right to give and receive, give and take. You have to have a balance in your relationship. Either your relationship drains you or it builds you. So it's not fair when just one is giving and giving and giving and the other one is just taking and not doing anything. So in a relationship, both of us have to work. Okay, so that's also a right, because sometimes women are always, like we said, having to take all the violence and not receiving, any caring or any loving, just being mistreated. So the third basic right is you have the right to be listened when expressing your feelings and thoughts. In number one, I said you have the right to express. So the first one is you have the right to express. And this one is you have the right to be listened, because sometimes we can be expressing all whatever we want to say and think, but sometimes we're not listened, right? Our partner doesn't really listen to us. So you have the right to express it, and you also have the right to be listened. Number four, the basic right, number four is you have the right to ask for sexual pleasure, to have orgasms, to enjoy sex. You have the right to ask for this, to enjoy your sexual life with your partner. Number five is you have the right to set boundaries in this sexual life you are asking. This means if you're not enjoying sex, if you're not, you don't want to do something special, or if you're not happy with some kind of sexual practices, you have the right to set boundaries and to say, I don't like this, or I don't want to do this. So this is very important. That's another right. Number six, you have the right to have interest in friends other than the interest or the friends of your partner. Sometimes in a relationship, your partner just wants, you have to be friends with my friends, or I like to go dancing, so you should go dancing with me and you should do what I do. So that's not fair, and that shouldn't be. You have the right to have other interests and, have your life and enjoy your life and do your stuff. Right number seven, you have the right to be informed and consulted about decisions that affect or involve you. This means, for example, if you're moving out of town, if you're buying or selling a house, if you're going on a trip or something that involves your children, anything that has to do with you, your life, you have the right to be informed. Not just like, oh, you know what, I'm selling the house, or we're moving, and you didn't even know what was happening. So you have the right to be informed. Right number eight, you have the right to change, to grow, to develop yourself. All of us, we weren't the same 20 years ago. All of us grow and we change and we do different things. So you have the right to change and to develop. You cannot stay being the same person. We need to change and to be better, and that's very healthy. Number nine, number nine, you have the right to feel safe, to feel respected, loved everywhere, inside your house and also outside. You have the right to feel safe with your partner. And right number 10, the last one, but not the least one, and I think it's very important, is you have the right to leave at any time, at any moment of our relationship that doesn't make you happy. Just the simple, I'm not happy, or I don't want this, or I don't feel comfortable, I just don't want to be here anymore. That's enough for you to leave a relationship. That's very important. And I think that's something we all should learn, that sometimes we want to stay there and we want to, make it happen and we want to all of it work out perfectly, but sometimes it doesn't work like that. So if you are not happy and you don't feel it's enough, or that something is missing, and I mean, maybe you can go to therapy, try to work it out, but if you just feel it doesn't, you can leave at any time. So those were the 10 basic rights in a healthy relationship. And I hope you liked it. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra and Trish. We have a few questions here and just a couple of minutes. So let me go through these, and feel free, Sandra or Trish, to speak up and answer, whoever wants to. If a woman is a victim of physical violence, who should she contact for support?
The information is in the Trish, can they put the poster back of the event that
You mean the Mujeres Desaparecidas poster?
because there are some numbers there that they can call if someone is missing.
Okay.
Here in Guanajuato.
Got it. Is there a woman's shelter anywhere in the state of Guanajuato?
No, I don't think we have.
No shelter. Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Could you tell us where the March 5th event is again? Where is that going to take place?
I'm happy to tell you. It's going to be at the Van Doren Gallery at the Fabrica on March 5th at 5 o'clock. But it will be up for a whole month. I just put up the poster.
Yeah,
for
thank
the
you.
Women.
Right at
And
the bottom, there are some numbers there, the telephones, and also you can go to the Ministerio Público to report someone missing. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I have a note here. I'm new to San Miguel. I'm wondering if there are women office holders here, and are they supporting this effort? And what is the involvement of elected officials and law enforcement in general on this issue?
Well, I think it's a great idea to reach out to elected women, but we have not done that yet. And really, I don't know who they are, Maybe Sandy, do you know?
No, I don't.
Well,
Yeah, that would
Trish, David here. I thought you
David.
met with, Trish and Sandy, thank you so much for a great presentation. Trish, I was under the impression that you met with Rosanna Potlin, who is the director of Instituto de las Mujeres. I put up the information, and it's right next to the administrative presidencia. Rosanna is bilingual. She's a lawyer, and she is a director. And she told me something that I didn't know, that a woman has to reach, they've already seen, as you mentioned, 2,000 women in the first few months. A woman has to reach out to Instituto. They cannot reach in. In other words, if Rosanna hears about an act of crime, she is not allowed by law. It's a crazy law, I know, but this is the law in Mexico, to reach out. The woman has to reach out to her. We had a woman on the road, as many of you read, Salida de Dolores, who was knocked over the head, robbed, and had brain damage. As far as I know, she's still in the hospital.
Oh.
And the Instituto is trying to get her help. So women have to know, and they could make an appointment with Rosanna at any time at the Instituto de las Mujeres. Thank you so much. Gracias.
Okay,
You're
very
right,
good.
David. I did meet with her to find out what they did.
All right. Well, Trish and Sandra, I want to thank you for this very, very important and informative presentation. We really appreciate you being here. Good luck on your event, March the 5th. And to commemorate your appearance here to the Midday Rotary Club of San Miguel de Allende, we do have a certificate of appreciation that we will email to both of you, and it is a donation made in your name of 10 polio vaccines to Rotary's End Polio Now campaign. And
Thank you.
we thank you both for being here. Right? Very good.
Thank you.